Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 46 of the Bill Podcast, and today we'll be going through regular expressions, or in short Regex, which is a very useful pattern matching language for literally any strings. So I'm back after a few weeks of rest and recovery, and I decided to do some revision on regular expressions because I tend to use this in a few programming languages or even search and replace in text editor. But this week I went on to go into in-depth into regular expressions and go in for a revision. Now the first resource of regular expressions is definitely the Wikipedia page, which will give us a slight hint upon the history of regular expressions, where it is used in which languages, and a little bit of association with computer science, where it is used in terms of syntax and pattern matching and so on and so forth. The next information for regular expressions, all things regular expressions, is definitely regular-expressions.info. This website is a wealth of information. If we really want to go in depth, I really recommend this website. Now the first thing about regular expression is to note that it is being implemented in various programming languages as well as libraries, and each of the flavors of regular expression might differ slightly. For example, in today's episode, we'll be going through a little bit of the JavaScript flavor of regular expression, and this syntax, as you can see, is borrowed from Perl. At other times, we will also slightly touch upon the Ruby version, and this is also borrowed from Perl, but in other programming languages, it might take on its own syntax flavor. So this is something to note whenever we are doing regular expressions. So for today's episode, we will be learning regular expressions through this website called Rubular, which is basically the Ruby version of regular expressions. Now, although the syntax might vary slightly, I believe the concepts such as grouping or matching or options are pretty transferable to whatever programming languages you're using. Alright, so let's get started with regular expressions using this very simple website. Now the first thing to note about regular expression is that it will be embedded within these two forward slashes. But since we always use this typically in regular expressions, this kind of browser-based environments or even text editor, you might be able to omit it totally. This is our test string, so why don't we try it out with hello Sherlock Holmes. And if we want to test whether, say, S is present, so we'll just do a capital S and they will see the matched result. How about, say, O? Yep, so you will see all the instances of O being highlighted. So pretty neat little editor to quickly test out our regex before we incorporate the pattern that we created into our applications. Now let's say we want to match sort of a few characters. So in this case we can actually put it within square braces and we can say, hey, let's see either E or O. So in this case all the E's or O's will be highlighted. Let's try with another name. How about Benedict Cumberbatch? So let's say in this case we want to match all the A's. So all the A's will be matched, but how about from A to E? So in this case, you can just simply put a little dash here. So all the A to E alphabets will be matched. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. So how about matching all the vowels? So A, E, I, O, U. All the vowels will be matched. Now interestingly, in regular expression, you can also match the inverse. So to do that, we can simply put a caret symbol right at the beginning. So all those that are not vowel will be matched. As you can see, things like H, L, B, all the consonants are being matched. Let's try another test string. So let's say we say Bond 007. In this case, let's try to match all from A to E. How about we have a second set of matching? Well, we can add it on. How about from 0 to 5? So in this case, it will be all from A, B, C, D, E, or from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once again, we can put a dash to sort of indicate the range, or we can even concatenate the ranges. Let's try another one. In this case, we will add on capital A to B. So notice here the B is being matched, but the H is not. Next, we will try to match from the start of the line only. So in this case, let's try out with a URL. So I'm going to clear the regular expression. In order to start off, we will start with the caret symbol, and let's try HTTP. So looks like it's being matched. So let's say if your string does not start with HTTP, it will say no matches found. So let's put back the HTTP. Next, we will also learn how to escape certain symbols, especially the ones like the /. So if we put this, it will be interpreted as you're closing the regular expressions, because / right at the start and right at the end indicates the entire regular expression. So we need to escape this. And to escape this, we usually use the \, like many programming languages. So this is how we can escape it. And notice how the first / is being matched. Next, we will do the similar thing for the second /. So that is a little bit about how we can start off matching regular expression from start of the line. Let's try something else. Another test string, Fifth Symphony. So in this case, let's start off by matching, say, any number. So I'll say 1 to 9. And let's start it right at the start. And after this, there is TH and 5 is being matched. And after that, we can have a space to indicate that, hey, there has to be a space. Or in this version of regular expression in Ruby, we can also say -s to indicate a space. And then, of course, we can say symphony. And if we want to end the line, we can do so with the $sign. So caret for start of the line and $, for end of the line. Next, let's try out some options. So let's say over here I have me.com/blog, but sometimes we also tend to have /, let's say the article number 12 or some digits. So in this case, we want some options like this / and then a number can be certain options. So for the ease of it, I'll just say me.com. Then once again, we need to escape the / and blog. And let's say the next one. Now you see there are no matches because we started from from the start of the line. But let's say this / is an option. So in this case, we can simply put a question marks. So whether we put a /, it will still be matched. And if we don't put the / right here, it will still match. Let's try out something else. So let's say we have a / and let's say we have a number. So let's say we have 3. In this case, the 3 is not being matched. And guess what? If we put a $sign, there will be no match at all, because until the end of the string, well, there are no numbers. In this case, we can similarly go ahead and let's say we put from 1 to 9. This is matching, but once again, if the / and the 3 is not there, it will say no matches. Well, if it is an option, we can similarly put in a question mark, and yep, it will be matched. Let's test out /3. It is matching again. Now at this point of time, well, it is not only one digit, maybe it is 34. In this case, there'll be no matches again. How do we indicate in our regular expression that, hey, there are one or more times? So in this case, how do we indicate certain repetition? For this, we can include an asterisk sign to say it is 0 or more times. So no matter how many numbers we include here, notice all will be matched. Let's try this out with a date string. So let's say I have a 9/March. Sometimes we do want the year, which is /say 13, or we don't want the year. So let's try to construct this. So firstly, we have say 0 to 9, and this appears at least once or more. If we want to say 0 or more, we put asterisks. But if we say once or more, we simply put plus. So notice here 9 is being matched, or even 19 will be matched. Next, we will put in a /, but as usual, we need to escape it. Next, we know that there are some alphabets with respect to the month name. So for this case, we'll just put A to Z. But guess what? There are sometimes capital letters as well. So we'll put capital letter A to Z. And in this case, notice only the first alphabet M is being matched. But of course, similarly, we do want to say one or more times. So for this case, we will indicate plus. And notice here the entire string is matched. So next, let's say the slash is an option. So similarly, we'll say escape the slash, and we can put a question mark to say it's option. And finally, we can add on some digits. So let's say we have from 1, or rather from 0 to 9. Let's try to add in 2013. So there you go. Only the first digit is being matched. But it is being matched a few times. So one or more times. So in this case, we can include plus. Now, at this point of time, you might be noting that, hey, in terms of repetition, we might not only want 0 or more, or 1 or more. Maybe we want only 4 times or 2 times. For example, in the case of year, maybe we want only 2 times or 4 times. In this case, we can put, instead of plus or asterisk, a curly brace and then the number inside. So if you put like 013, it will only match 2 of them, because we are putting, hey, this is repeated only twice. We can also go ahead and put on some ranges. So let's say from repeated 2 times to repeated 4 times. So in this case, 2013 is completely valid. So once again, in terms of repetition, plus indicates 1 or more times. Asterisk indicates 0 or more times. Curly braces will include the number of times, and if you include a number, comma, another number, it will mean the least and the maximum number of times. So that was a little bit about repetition. Let's try out with another date format. So let's say I have 9th March 2013. And this March can also be replaced via digits. So let's say 03. How do we match that? So once again, let's start off with the number. So in this case, it will be always from 0 to 9. And I will also start with the caret symbol to say that, hey, this is right from the start of the line. But this is only twice, because in a month, we only have 2 digits. Looks like 09 is being matched. And well, if we have 19, it will also be matched. Next, we have the dash, which is being matched. Next, we will say from A to Z, and it is repeated only 3 times, not more than that. So notice here, March is being matched. But we also want the digits to happen. So in this case, we can actually put in this option symbol to indicate that either or. And then we can include 0 to 9 repeated twice. And for this, we will also need to include it within brackets to say only in this area, matched group. So let's try this out. So let's say we have 03. Yep, it's being matched. Or March, it is also being matched. And once again, we have a dash symbol. And for the year, we can simply say from 0 to 9, and it has to be repeated 4 times. So there you go, we have our complete regular expression, and it can even match the digits inside. So that's a little bit about using alternative matches with a pipe symbol. So this is a little bit about how I basically use this kind of browser-based applications to test out my regular expression before incorporating it into my application or code base. Now, other uses of regular expression is also search and find in a text editor. So let's say here I have a very simple HTML document, and I just want to search for only the opening and closing tags for HTML. So when I do Command F in Sublime Text, we'll come right at the bottom. In fact, the leftmost symbol, which is regular expression, I'll just turn it on. Now, whatever we type inside here is a regular expression. So let's see how this happens. So obviously for an HTML tag, it will firstly start off with opening angle bracket, and notice immediately how all the angle brackets are being matched. Next, we have a /, but obviously this needs to be escaped. And this forward slash can be an option depending on an opening or closing tag. So similarly, notice how both the opening and closing tags are being matched. Next, I have either from 0 to 9 because H1 has a digit, or I also have from A to Z because H or P are alphabets. And this can basically repeat for one or more times. So looks like our alphabets and numbers, the tag is being reflected. And lastly, we simply have the closing angle bracket. So this is a very simple matching. And now when I press find all, notice that all the HTML tags are being matched. Now, of course, it can be a little bit more rigorous matching. I have explained a very simple one. For example, in the case of a single tag, say image tag, it will be slightly different. But nevertheless, for these cases, the simple regex is very useful for matching. Lastly, let me come back to an about blank page and open up the Chrome DevTools and explore how we can use this in JavaScript. So the very first thing we can do is var regex, and let's put in the same regex that we used just now, and we will have to put it inside 2 forward slashes, something like this. So when we query regex, yep, this will give you a regex. So how do we actually put in the input string? So let's put in an input string. In this case, let's say just a simple hello embedded within an h1 tag. And now when we say dot match, we can pass in the regex here. And when we do that, notice that the first instance of the match is being returned. If you want all the instances, or rather a global match, we need to pass in /g as a flag right at the end. So let's try this once again. And now when we pass it, you will notice that all the matches will be returned. Now for JavaScript, I tend to use this website regexpal.com, which is a JavaScript regular expression tester. So it is very similar to Ruby, the Ruby version, just that this is for JavaScript. So here it's very similar. You can put in the regular expression and a test string, and it will basically do a matching. Finally, to understand very complex regular expression, I find this website brilliant. Now, before we test this website and see what it does, I would like to point out this article on 8 regular expressions you should know. Now, there are many common regex patterns that comes in handy in our everyday coding, and this article shows just 8 of them. For example, in terms of matching username or a password, what I find interesting are things like hex value, let's say for color value, or say a slug or email. Now, let's say you have this pretty long regular expression. How do you even go ahead to deconstruct it? Well, this is exactly where I find this regexper website really handy. So let's try it out and of course escape the 2 forward slashes, and let's press display and see what's happening. And it will basically give us a state machine automaton diagram, which means to say that we can actually go through this diagram from left to right, and it will deconstruct this entire string of regex. So let's look at it. So it starts off with a start of line, which is right here with a caret symbol, and the brackets here are basically the groups, and inside the group here you can see that it can be A to Z or 0 to 9. Or it can be an underscore, a dot, or even a dash. And of course, a dot is being escaped by the backslash. So this is represented by group 1. And then you see this @ symbol right here. And then you start with group 2, which is enclosed by this another bracket. And inside here, you can similarly see that it can be a digit or A to Z or dot or dash. And then you have another dot, and of course this is escaped once again. And finally you have group 3, which can only be from 2 to 6, which means to say that this is the top level domain. And then finally the $sign, which is the end of line. So really, next time when you come across a very complicated regular expression that you probably picked it up from the web or your colleague, do check out regexper to basically deconstruct it. Finally, some links where I went through regular expressions and found it really beneficial. One of them is by Zed Shaw, Learn to Code the Hard Way on regular expressions. Next is a Tuts Premium course on regular expressions, a very, very detailed course by Jeffrey Wei. There are really a lot of advanced topic here as well, so do go ahead and check this out. And of course, it has to include one Stack Overflow question. There is one right here, and it talks about the concepts of regular expression, which is basically quite language agnostic. For example, in terms of repetition or grouping or alternation, escaping, or even greed. So do go ahead and have a look at this Stack Overflow answer. Finally, just for the fun of it, I did show at some point of time HTML tags and how we can use Regex to basically choose these HTML tags. Now there's this funny article on parsing HTML, the Tulu way, and this is really funny. So if you go to the Stack Overflow answer, it is basically trying to tell us that, hey, don't use regular expression to parse HTML. Well, you can read the answer, and it towards the end, it's nearly not even readable, because basically it's trying to tell us don't try to parse HTML using regular expressions. So, yep, some fun links on Regex. And finally, for the build link of the episode, I would recommend Brett Victor's videos. This is a lot to do with visualization, usability, using tools in technology, or even thinking about how we can go about building interfaces. Every time I watch one of his videos, I am personally very inspired by how he goes about thinking about interfaces. And whenever we use technology to build stuff for human beings, I think these concepts are not only inspiring but very much applicable no matter what programming language, tools, or concepts we use. So do check out Brett Victor's Vimeo channel, and definitely his website, worrydream.com, along with his blog. So that's it for this week's episode on Build Podcast. For all other episodes on Build Podcast, do check out build-podcast.com and subscribe via RSS, GitHub, iTunes, YouTube, or Vimeo and get your weekly content. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye.